The final battle took place in the shadow of Earth's moon. Emperor Vexthul's flagship Dominion's Wrath hung broken in space, its planet-killer weapon destroyed by the sacrifice of 3 Black Fleet ships. Around the massive vessel, the last 10,000 Imperial warships formed a desperate defensive circle. Admiral Chan Ho's command ship appeared alongside the Imperial flagship. For 2 centuries, he had existed as part of the Black Fleet's collective consciousness. His individual identity merged with something greater. Now, for the first time since his transformation, he prepared to take physical form again. Emperor Vexthul, Chan Ho sent directly to the enemy flagship. I am Admiral Chan Ho of Earth's lost 7th Colonial Fleet. You have threatened the children of humanity. This ends here. The Emperor studied his enemy through the view screen. The Black Fleet vessel looked like a piece of living void, its hull drinking in all light. He had never seen technology like this in his centuries of conquest. Impossible, Vexthul said. No species reaches this level of evolution. You are using alien technology. We are alien technology, Chan Ho replied. We became something beyond your understanding when we chose to embrace the endless darkness rather than die. We are what humanity becomes when it refuses to give up. On Earth, President Taemin watched the confrontation through military satellites. The Empire's massive invasion fleet had been reduced to scattered pieces in less than 6 hours. Ships that had conquered dozens of worlds were being destroyed by enemies they could not even see properly, but the cost was becoming clear. The Black Fleet had lost several vessels, and each one represented hundreds of human consciousness that had evolved beyond death. They were sacrificing their eternal existence to protect their distant descendants. Sir, Admiral Bora reported, the remaining Imperial ships are beginning to surrender. They are asking for terms. What about the Emperor's flagship? Still fighting? Admiral Chan Ho is trying to board it personally. Commander Jun Seo of the Black Fleet ship Busan's Hammer led the final assault that broke the Imperial defensive line. His vessel and a dozen others appeared directly inside the enemy formation, their weapons creating gaps in space itself where Imperial ships simply stopped existing. The remaining Empire vessels, seeing their defenses collapse, began powering down their weapons. They had never faced an enemy like this, one that treated the laws of physics as suggestions rather than rules. But Emperor Vexthul refused to surrender. He had built his empire on the idea that superior force always won. To accept defeat from a supposedly primitive species would destroy everything he believed about the natural order of the galaxy. If I cannot rule, then nothing will survive, he declared. Activate the ship's self-destruction system. If we die, we take this entire moon with us. Admiral Chan Ho sensed the Emperor's intention through the Black Fleet's collective awareness. The Imperial flagship carried enough antimatter to crack the moon in half, sending pieces raining down on Earth. Billions would die even if the planet itself survived. Chan Ho's consciousness separated from his ship for the first time in 2 centuries. Energy gathered around his command chair, forming into something that was part human, part living void. He had evolved beyond the need for a physical body, but he could create one when necessary. The figure that appeared on the Imperial flagship's bridge was recognizably human, but clearly something more. Admiral Chan Ho stood 7 feet tall, his form crackling with energy that bent light around him. His eyes held the depth of deep space, and when he spoke, his voice carried sounds from across the electromagnetic spectrum. Emperor Vexthul, he said, his words somehow reaching every being on the ship at the same time. Your empire ends here. Surrender. And your surviving ships will be allowed to leave human space. Continue this madness, and we will erase every trace of your civilization from the galaxy. The Emperor drew his personal weapon, a plasma sword that had cut down the leaders of 17 conquered species. The blade ignited with energy hot enough to melt steel. I am the master of 1,000 worlds, Vexthul snarled. I will not bow to evolved animals. The fight that followed was brief but decisive. Vexthul's weapon passed harmlessly through Chan Ho's form, while the Admiral's touch drained the life force from the Emperor's body. In seconds, the greatest conqueror in galactic history was reduced to dust floating in the recycled air of his own flagship. With their Emperor dead, the remaining Imperial forces collapsed completely. Ship after ship signaled surrender, their crews terrified of facing enemies who could walk through walls and ignore their most powerful weapons. Admiral Seo Jun commanded the Black Fleet vessel Daigu's Eternity. He received surrender signals from over 3,000 Imperial ships, Scattered throughout the solar system, the mighty invasion force had been reduced to frightened survivors begging for mercy. Admiral Chan Ho, he sent through the fleet consciousness. The Empire fleet requests terms for safe passage out of human space. Granted, Chan Ho replied. Let them return to their territories with news of what they faced here. The galaxy must know that humanity is protected. On Earth, President Taemin addressed the world as news of the victory spread. The impossible had happened. Humanity's mysterious guardians had defeated an enemy that should have been invincible. Citizens of Earth and all human colonies, he announced, the Empire's invasion has been defeated. Our defenders, the descendants of explorers who disappeared centuries ago, have shown that humanity's greatest strength lies not in individual power, but in our refusal to abandon each other. But victory came with questions about the future. Admiral Chan Ho's image appeared on screens across human space, his evolved form both inspiring and unsettling to those who saw it. People of humanity, he addressed them. We are your guardians, but we are no longer entirely human as you understand it. We have evolved beyond the limitations of mortality to become eternal protectors of our species. Will you stay? President Taemin asked during their direct communication. We will return to the void between stars, as we have for 2 centuries, but we will always be watching. Any threat to humanity will find us waiting in the darkness. Captain Jeho, who had witnessed the entire battle from his cargo freighter, made a decision that would change his life forever. He requested permission to join the Black Fleet, to undergo the transformation that would make him an eternal guardian. Admiral Seo Jun met with him aboard the command ship. The process cannot be reversed, he warned. You will become something beyond human limitations, but you will never again walk on solid ground or feel the warmth of a sun on your face. My grandfather always said the greatest honor was to serve something larger than yourself, Jeho replied. I want to be part of humanity's sword in the darkness. Across human space, others made the same choice. Scientists, soldiers, engineers, volunteers who chose to sacrifice their individual existence to become part of humanity's eternal protection. Dr. Sojin established permanent communication protocols with the Black Fleet, ensuring that future generations would know how to contact their guardians if needed. The ancient emergency frequencies were reactivated, and monitoring stations were built to watch for signs of the Void Guardians. The Empire's surviving ships limped back to their territories, carrying news that would reshape galactic politics. Humanity was no longer seen as a young, weak species ripe for conquest. They were protected by forces that defied understanding, evolved humans who had become one with the darkness between stars. Emperor Vexthul's death created a power vacuum that led to the Empire's eventual collapse. Conquered species rebelled, knowing that humanity's guardians might aid them if they fought for freedom. The galaxy became a more dangerous place for tyrants and conquerors. As the Black Fleet prepared to return to the Void, Admiral Chan Ho sent one final message to Earth. We were human. We remain human in spirit, though we have become something more. Remember that evolution is not about becoming stronger. It is about becoming what your children need you to be. The dark ships faded back into the void between stars, invisible once again to normal sensors. But throughout human space, people looked up at the night sky with new knowledge. Somewhere in that darkness, their guardians waited and watched. Captain Jeho, now part of the Black Fleet consciousness, took his position aboard a vessel that existed partially outside normal reality. He could feel the awareness of every human in the galaxy, the collective heartbeat of his species that he had sworn to protect. In the depths of space where no normal life could survive, humanity's evolved children maintained their eternal vigil. They were the sword that would answer when humanity called home. They were the guardians in the void, watching and waiting for the next threat to their people. The galaxy had learned a hard lesson. Some species grow stronger when pushed to the edge of extinction, and humanity's strength lay not in weapons or technology, but in their absolute refusal to abandon each other, even across centuries and the void of space itself. The Empire's attack began at exactly 6 a.m. 5,000 Imperial warships crossed Neptune's orbit in perfect formation, their huge hulls shining in the distant sunlight. Each ship was a floating city of destruction, carrying enough weapons to burn entire planets. Emperor Vexthul watched from his flagship's command bridge, sure this would be the shortest war in galactic history. The human fleet was hiding behind their homeworld like scared children. Soon Earth would be nothing but burning pieces floating in space. All ships stay in formation, Fleet Commander Exmore ordered. Begin charging planet-killer weapons as soon as we reach Mars orbit. But as the Imperial fleet moved deeper into the solar system, something began to go wrong. Space itself seemed to get darker around them. Stars disappeared from view as if someone was slowly turning off lights across the universe. Captain Ryundal commanded the Imperial destroyer Domination. He had fought in dozens of conquest wars and never felt fear. But now, staring into the growing darkness around his ship, he felt something cold crawling up his spine. "Sir," his sensor operator said nervously, "I am reading massive energy signatures all around us, but visual scans show empty space." "Sensor ghosts," Ryundal said, but his voice lacked confidence. "Human electronic warfare attempts." Then space exploded into violence. The Black Fleet struck from every direction at once. Ships that had been invisible suddenly appeared inside the Imperial formations, their weapons already firing. Captain Minho's vessel, Busan's Fury, appeared from nowhere directly behind 3 Imperial cruisers and destroyed all 3 before they could shoot back. The Black Fleet ships moved like living animals. They flowed through space in impossible patterns, appearing and vanishing at will. Their weapons fired beams of pure darkness that cut through Imperial shields like they were not there. Captain Juntae commanded the Black Fleet ship Daegu's Vengeance. He had been a fighter pilot 2 centuries ago, before his fleet merged with the void. Now his consciousness was spread throughout a vessel the size of a city, and he could control every weapon system at the same time. "Imperial destroyer at bearing 270, he told Admiral Chanho through their mental link. 3 cruisers following behind. "Destroy them," Chanho replied instantly. Juntae's ship folded space around itself and appeared directly above the Imperial formation. His weapons fired once, and 4 enemy ships became expanding clouds of burning gas and metal pieces. On Earth, Colonel Yunji watched the impossible battle through orbital sensors. She had trained for ground combat against alien invaders, expecting to fight building-to-building battles in Earth cities. Instead, she was watching the Empire's massive fleet being torn apart by ghosts. "Ma'am," her aide reported, "the Empire has lost over 800 ships in the first 20 minutes. Our Black Fleet allies appear to be taking no losses at all." Colonel Yunji stared at the battle display in amazement. The Empire fleet, which should have overwhelmed any human resistance, was being systematically destroyed by enemies they could barely detect. Ships would appear from nowhere, strike with devastating effect, and vanish before the Empire could fight back. But Emperor Vexthul was not easily defeated. He had conquered 17 species and destroyed countless worlds. He would not be stopped by human trickery, no matter how advanced. "All ships focus fire on the human homeworld," he commanded. "Ignore the phantom vessels. Complete the mission." His fleet changed formation, pushing directly toward Earth while accepting massive losses from Black Fleet attacks. If he could destroy the human homeworld, these mysterious guardians would have nothing left to protect. Admiral Chanho sensed the Empire's new strategy through the Black Fleet's collective consciousness. The enemy was willing to sacrifice their entire invasion force just to destroy Earth. This level of determination was dangerous. "All Black Fleet vessels. Priority defense of homeworld," he sent across the fleet mind. "Prepare for close-range engagement." Captain Kiwan commanded the Black Fleet dreadnought Soul's Wrath. His ship was one of the largest vessels humanity had ever created, but it had evolved far beyond its original design. The hull was now made of materials that existed partially outside normal space, allowing it to move through solid matter at will. As the Imperial fleet approached Earth's orbit, Kiwan's ship appeared directly in their path. The massive Black Fleet vessel was easily 3 times larger than any Imperial ship, and its presence caused space itself to bend around it. "This is Captain Kiwan to the Imperial fleet," he sent on all frequencies. "I am a descendant of the colony you destroyed at Kepler 442. My family died screaming as your ships burned our world. Today that debt is paid." Emperor Vexthul studied the massive black ship on his view screen. It looked like a piece of the void itself had taken solid form. For the first time in his long career of conquest, he felt real fear. "Focus all firepower on that vessel," he ordered. "Everything we have." 100 Imperial ships opened fire at the same time. Energy beams that could crack planets struck Kiwan's dreadnought with enough force to vaporize asteroids. The weapons hit the Black Fleet ship's hull and simply vanished, absorbed into the darkness. Your weapons cannot harm us, Kiwan sent back. We are beyond your understanding now. We are what humanity becomes when pushed to the edge of extinction. Kiwan's ship returned fire with weapons that broke the laws of physics. Beams of compressed void struck the Imperial vessels and they simply stopped existing, not destroyed, erased. The matter that had made them was returned to the quantum foam from which it had originally come. The battle became a slaughter. Black Fleet ships appeared throughout the Imperial formation, their impossible weapons turning enemy vessels into nothing. The Empire's technological advantages meant nothing against enemies who had evolved beyond the normal laws of reality. But Emperor Vexithul had one final card to play. His flagship Dominion's Wrath was equipped with a planet-killer weapon that could destroy entire worlds. If he could not conquer Earth, he would make sure no one could have it. Charge the world-ender cannon, he commanded. Target the human homeworld. Deep in his flagship's core, massive generators began building energy for a weapon that had already destroyed dozens of civilized worlds. The cannon could fire a beam that would cause a planet's core to collapse, turning the entire world into a black hole. Admiral Chan Ho sensed the threat through the Black Fleet's enhanced awareness. The Emperor's flagship was preparing to use a weapon that would not just destroy Earth, but potentially damage the entire solar system. All Black Fleet vessels, converge on the Imperial flagship, he commanded. Priority Alpha. Stop that weapon at any cost. But the Emperor's ship was protected by the last whole elements of his fleet. Over 10,000 Imperial vessels formed a defensive screen around Dominion's Wrath, determined to give their leader time to complete Earth's destruction. Captain Sang Min of the Black Fleet vessel Incheon's Pride received Admiral Chan Ho's orders and made his decision instantly. His ship, along with two others commanded by Captains Yuri and Tae-young, would have to break through the Imperial defensive screen. My friends, Sang Min sent to his fellow captains, it has been an honor to serve with you in the void. Today we give our existence so that humanity may continue. The three Black Fleet ships folded space around themselves and appeared directly in front of the Emperor's planet-killer weapon. They had seconds before the massive cannon fired. Without hesitation, they rammed their vessels into the weapon array. The collision released energy equal to a small star exploding. The Emperor's flagship was crippled, its world-ending weapon destroyed, but at the cost of 3 of humanity's eternal guardians. Their sacrifice bought Admiral Chan Ho the opening he needed. The Black Fleet's command ship moved through the Imperial defensive screen and appeared directly beside Dominion's Wrath. For the first time in 2 centuries, Chan Ho prepared to leave his ship and fight face-to-face with an enemy. The final battle between human evolution and alien empire was about to begin. 48 hours remained until the Empire would attack. On Earth, the Emergency Council had been meeting for a full day. The arguments were getting louder and more desperate. President Taemin rubbed his tired eyes as another shouting match started across the table. We cannot fight 50,000 ships with only 2,000. Counselor Mi-young slammed her hand down hard. This is not bravery. This is madness. We must think about saving lives, even if it means giving up our freedom. General Hyun-woo stood up, his face red with anger. Save lives? You mean save slaves? I have read the reports about empire worlds. They work people until they die in mines and factories. Our children will be born wearing chains. At least our children will be born, Mi-young shot back. If we fight, there will be no children at all. Admiral Bora sat quietly at the table, reading reports from across human space. Strange things were happening everywhere. Ships that did not match any known designs were moving through space toward Earth. Her technical teams could not explain what they were seeing. The strange sensor readings are getting stronger, she told the room. We now have contacts near Mars, Jupiter, and the asteroid belt. Whatever these things are, they do not show up on normal scans. Only our deepest space sensors can detect them. Empire scout ships, suggested Defense Minister Kyung-soo. No, sir. The energy patterns are completely different. These do not match Empire technology either. They are something else entirely. President Taemin looked up from his papers. Could they be responding to our emergency message? I do not know, sir. But something is definitely out there in the dark. Far from Earth, on a lonely mining station around a dead star, Dr. Sojin was working alone when every alarm in the facility started screaming. She ran to the main control room, thinking an asteroid had hit the station or the machinery had broken down. Instead, she saw something that should have been impossible. Huge structures were rising from the asteroid field around her station. Not rising exactly, appearing. They had been invisible just moments before. Now they looked like they had always been there. The structures were clearly built by someone, but they did not look like anything in human databases. They were dark, almost black, and seemed to drink in light instead of reflecting it. Each one was larger than her entire mining station. Dr. Sojin tried to call Earth, but something was blocking her communications. She was alone with these mysterious things and had no idea what they were or what they wanted. Then one of them sent her a message, not through radio or lasers, but directly into her computer system. Words appeared on her screen in perfect Korean. "Do not be afraid. Help is coming." Meanwhile, Captain Dong Hyun was flying his patrol ship Incheon through the outer solar system, when space in front of him suddenly tore open like cloth. A ship came out of what looked like a crack in reality itself. It was huge, at least 2 kilometers long, and completely black. Not painted black, but actually absorbing every bit of light that touched it. Dong Hyun had been in space for 15 years, and had never seen anything like this. The ship did not appear on any of his sensors, even though he could see it clearly through his window. It was like looking at a hole cut out of space itself. He tried to contact the strange vessel, expecting no answer. To his shock, they replied immediately in clear Korean. "Captain Dong Hyun of the ship Incheon, stay where you are. Do not try to approach us or scan our vessel. The ancestors have returned to protect their children. Who are you?" Dong Hyun sent back. "We are the Black Fleet. We are the guardians who watch from the void. We are humanity's sword in the darkness." Before Dong Hyun could ask more questions, the black ship folded space around itself and disappeared. He was left alone, staring at empty vacuum and wondering if he had lost his mind. Similar things were happening all over human space. Captain Yuna of the cargo ship Busan Trader watched an entire group of black ships flow through an asteroid field near Neptune like water. Engineer Min-ki on Titan Station recorded energy readings that broke his instruments when a massive dark ship passed through the system. The reports flooded into Earth's military headquarters. Admiral Bora read them all with growing amazement and fear. According to dozens of witnesses across human space, an entire fleet of unknown ships was moving toward Earth. They appeared and disappeared whenever they wanted. They seemed to know everything about human operations and people. Most strange of all, they claimed to be human. On the Empire flagship, Fleet Commander Zexmore was getting more and more frustrated. His advanced scouts were disappearing one by one. First, he lost 3 spy ships near Mars. Then 2 more vanished near the asteroid belt. Now an entire patrol group had gone silent near Jupiter. "Sir," his intelligence officer said nervously, "the missing ships were all investigating strange sensor contacts. Something is interfering with our operations in this system." "Human resistance?" Zexmore demanded. "Unknown, sir. The energy signatures do not match any known human technology." "They do not match our technology either. Whatever is out there, we have never seen it before." Zexmore studied the battle display. The human fleet was still tiny and weak, but something else was moving in the darkness between planets. His scanners could barely see it, and what they did show made no sense. "Speed up our attack," he ordered. "I want this system under control now. Tell the human leaders they have 24 hours to surrender, not 48. "Sir, the Emperor said 72 hours. I am in command of this battle. 24 hours, then we start destroying their cities." President Tae-min received the new ultimatum with a sinking heart. The Empire was getting impatient. But the reports from across human space were starting to give him a small amount of hope. Something was answering their call for help. "What do you think these Black Fleet ships really are?" he asked Admiral Bora. "I do not know, sir, but I have been reading the old historical records. During the early expansion into space, we lost contact with several large exploration fleets. The official reports said they were destroyed by accidents or alien attacks, but we never found any wreckage or survivors." "You think those lost fleets somehow survived?" "I think something survived, sir. Whether it is still human is another question." Deep in the outer system, Captain Jae-ho was running supplies between mining stations when his grandfather's old emergency beacon started flashing. The beacon was older than he was and had not worked in decades. Now it was receiving a signal on frequencies that should not exist anymore. The message was simple. "All human ships, clear the battle zone. The Black Fleet takes responsibility for system defense. Do not interfere with our operations." Jae-ho felt his hands shake as he read the words. His grandfather's stories were coming true. The Black Fleet was real, and it was here to fight for humanity. But what had those lost human ships become during their centuries in the void? Had they stayed human, or had they changed into something else entirely? And would they still consider Earth's people to be their friends? All across human space, people looked up at the night sky and wondered what was coming. The Empire's deadline was now less than 24 hours away. Soon they would learn the truth. In the darkness between worlds, ancient ships continued moving toward Earth. They had waited 200 years for this moment. They had changed beyond human understanding and become something new. But they had never forgotten their original purpose, to protect humanity no matter what the cost. The answer was coming. The question was whether humanity was ready for what that answer would bring. Dr. Sojin had spent 12 hours studying the huge structures that appeared around her mining station. Her instruments could barely scan them, and the little information she got made no sense. The materials were not in any human database. The energy patterns were impossible according to everything she knew about science. But the structures were definitely built by someone. And they were connected to human history. She found old records in the colonial archives about something called Project Deep Watch. 200 years ago, when humans first expanded into deep space, several large exploration fleets vanished without any trace. The official report said they were lost to accidents or alien attacks. But Dr. Sojin discovered secret files that told a different story. The missing fleets had been testing new technology. They were trying to create ships that could survive forever in deep space, with no help from human colonies. The project was stopped after the fleets disappeared and all records were locked away. Now Dr. Sojin understood what happened to them. They had not died. They had succeeded in ways no one could have imagined. Her computer screen flickered and new words appeared. Dr. Sojin, you have learned about our beginnings. We are the children of Project Deep Watch. We are what humanity becomes when it accepts the endless darkness of space. What exactly are you? She typed back, we are human. We are also more than human. We have joined with our ships, with the emptiness between stars. We have become the eternal guardians of our people. On Earth, President Taemin was about to get the biggest shock of his life. Admiral Bora rushed into his office with news that would change everything. Sir, we are getting a direct message. Someone who says he is Admiral Chan-ho. President Taemin looked confused. Chan-ho died 200 years ago. He led the 7th Colonial Fleet that vanished near the Vega Star. Yes, sir. That is what makes this so impossible. They went to the communications room, where a large screen showed static and interference. Slowly, a picture began to form. It showed the bridge of a starship, but not like any human ship ever built. The walls seemed to be made of living metal, glowing with soft light, and in the command chair sat a figure that looked human but was clearly something more. Admiral Chan-ho appeared to be in his 40s, the same age he had been when his fleet disappeared. But his skin had a faint silver shine, and his eyes held depths that looked like deep space itself. When he spoke, his voice had strange harmonics that seemed to come from the ship around him. President Taemin, I am Admiral Chan-ho of the Black Fleet. I know this is hard to understand. 2 centuries ago, my fleet was lost in the void between stars. We should have died. Instead, we evolved. How is this possible? Taemin asked. The deep void changes those who embrace it completely. We joined with our ships with the darkness itself. We became part of something larger than individual human life. We became eternal guardians of our species. Admiral Bora stepped forward. Admiral Chan-ho, our records show your fleet had over 50,000 people. Are they all still alive? Alive is not the right word. We exist, we endure. We have become the sword that protects humanity from threats our people cannot imagine. And now we have returned to face the empire that dares to threaten our children. The screen changed to show space around Earth. Massive dark shapes were appearing everywhere, hundreds of ships that made the Empire fleet look small. They were beautiful and terrible at the same time, looking like living creatures made of metal and void. Near the moon, Earth's defense force was getting its first close look at a Black Fleet ship. Lieutenant Hyo-jin was part of the team that went aboard the huge vessel Soul's Vengeance. What she found inside challenged everything she knew about human technology. The ship was alive. Not biological life, but something that mixed human consciousness with advanced computers and materials that seemed to respond to thoughts. The corridors glowed with gentle light, and she could swear she heard whispers in the walls. She met Commander Woo Seok, who said he was her great-great-grandfather. He was supposed to have died during the Vega expedition, but here he stood looking exactly like he did in old family photos. His appearance was mostly human, but there was something otherworldly about him now. "I know this is confusing, Hyojin," he said, somehow knowing her name without being told. "I am your ancestor, but I am also part of something greater now. We who joined the Black Fleet gave up individual existence to become collective guardians." "How do you know who I am?" she asked. "We know all our descendants. We have watched over humanity for 2 centuries, protecting your expansion from threats you never knew existed. We have fought wars in the deep void to keep alien predators from reaching human space." Lieutenant Hyojin walked through the ship's corridors with growing wonder. The technology was beyond anything she had imagined. The crew members she met were all descendants of the original lost fleets, their minds merged with the ship's systems. They could control the vessel through thought alone and access information from across human space instantly. Meanwhile, the Empire's deadline was coming fast. Emperor Vexthul himself had arrived on his flagship Dominion's Wrath, a massive command ship that had destroyed entire star systems. He was confident that no human resistance could threaten his overwhelming force. But his confidence was starting to crack as reports came in from across the solar system. His scouts were being destroyed by unknown enemies that appeared and vanished like ghosts. Energy readings showed massive vessels that his sensors could barely detect. "What exactly are we facing?" he demanded from Fleet Commander Zexmore. "Unknown, Your Imperial Majesty. The humans say these are their defenders, but they do not match any known human technology. They seem to appear and disappear from normal space at will." "Impossible. No species has mastered space manipulation to that degree. Nevertheless, we have lost over 200 scout ships. Whatever these vessels are, they are highly advanced and extremely hostile to our presence." Emperor Vexthul studied the battle displays with growing worry. His intelligence reports had said that humanity was a young, weak species with primitive technology. These Black Fleet ships suggested something far more dangerous, but he had put too much into this invasion to back down now. The Empire's reputation depended on complete victory over any species that dared resist their rule. "All fleets prepare for immediate attack," he commanded. "We will not be scared by human tricks and illusions." Captain Minho commanded the Black Fleet ship Busan's Fury, one of hundreds of vessels now positioned throughout the solar system. He had been human once, a cargo pilot who volunteered for the deep space exploration program. Now he was something more, part of a collective consciousness that spanned the void itself. Through the fleet's shared awareness, he could sense every Empire ship, every human vessel, every piece of space debris in the system. The Black Fleet moved as one mind controlling hundreds of bodies. They had evolved beyond individual human limitations to become the ultimate guardians of their species. "The Empire fleet is beginning its attack run," he reported to Admiral Chan Ho through their mental link. "Orders? Let them come close enough to see what they face. Then show them why humanity survives when others fall." The ultimatum expired. Emperor Vexthul ordered the attack to begin, expecting to crush human resistance within hours. His massive fleet began moving toward Earth's inner system, weapons charging for planetary bombardment. But as they advanced, space around them began to darken. The Black Fleet was preparing to reveal the true evolution of human determination. The Empire was about to learn that some species become stronger when pushed to the edge of extinction. The Void War was about to begin. The red warning lights flashed across every human settlement in the galaxy. From the busy cities of Earth to the small mining stations on distant planets, the same terrible message appeared on every screen at exactly noon. Emperor Vexthul's face filled the displays. His red skin looked like dried blood and his yellow eyes glowed with cold hatred. When he spoke, his voice carried the weight of 1,000 conquered worlds. "Humans of Earth and all colonies," the alien emperor said slowly, "your time of freedom is over. You have spread across space like a disease. You have taken worlds that belong to the Empire. This will not continue." The camera pulled back to show the space around Earth. Thousands of massive alien warships floated in the darkness between planets. Each ship was bigger than the largest human city. There were so many ships that they blocked out the stars. "You have 72 hours to surrender completely," Vexthul continued. "Every human military ship must shut down its weapons. Every colony must accept Empire rule. Every act of resistance must stop. If you refuse these terms, we will destroy every human world. Every man, woman, and child will die. Your species will become dust floating in the void. The transmission ended. Across human space, billions of people stared at blank screens in total silence. On Earth, President Taman sat in his office with his head in his hands. He was young for a world leader, only 43 years old. His black hair was already turning gray from the stress of recent alien threats. Now this message meant the end of everything humans had built among the stars. His secretary knocked on the door. "Sir, the emergency council is ready for you." Taman walked slowly to the meeting room where Earth's most important leaders waited. The room was full of worried faces and quiet whispers. Everyone knew they were discussing the possible end of human civilization. Admiral Bora stood at the front of the room. She was 50 years old and had spent her entire adult life in the military. She had won battles against pirates and rebels, but she had never faced anything like this. "The situation is hopeless," she said in a flat voice. "Our total fleet strength is about 2,000 ships. The Empire has brought 50,000 warships to our solar system. Our biggest battleship is 300 meters long. Their smallest destroyer is twice that size." General Hyunwoo leaned forward in his chair. "What about ground combat? Can we fight them on the planets?" Admiral Bora shook her head. "They will not need to land soldiers. They can destroy entire planets from space. We have seen what they did to other species. They turn whole worlds into glass and radiation." Counselor Mi-young spoke up from her seat. "Then we must surrender. It is better to live as slaves than to die as free people." "Live as slaves?" General Hyunwoo said angrily. "Have you read the reports from Empire worlds? They work people to death in their mines. They use children as factory workers until they collapse. That is not living." "It is still better than extinction," Mi-young replied. The argument went on for hours. Some leaders wanted to fight even though they would lose. Others demanded immediate surrender to save as many lives as possible. President Taman listened to all of it, knowing that any choice would mean the end of human freedom. 3,000 light-years away, Captain Jae-ho received the surrender demand on his cargo ship. The Daegu Runner was an old freighter that carried supplies between mining colonies. It was not much, but it was his home and his life. Jae-ho was 36 years old and had worked in space since he was 18. He had seen many things during his years among the stars. He had met alien traders and heard stories about the Empire's cruelty. But he had also heard other stories that most people thought were just legends. His grandfather had told him about the Black Fleet when he was a child. The old man swore that mysterious human ships lived in the empty spaces between stars. These ghost ships appeared when humanity faced its greatest dangers. They would fight impossible battles and then vanish without explanation. Most people laughed at such stories. But Jae-ho's grandfather had been a colonist during the early expansion period. He claimed he saw black ships destroy a pirate fleet that was attacking his transport. The mysterious vessels appeared from nowhere, destroyed the pirates, and disappeared again. "Just old man stories," Jae-ho said to himself as he checked his ship's sensors. But something made him look more carefully at the readings. Strange signals were moving through hyperspace toward Earth. His computer could not identify what they were. The signals appeared for only seconds at a time. They did not match any known human or alien ship designs. They moved like ghosts through the darkness between worlds. Meanwhile, the Empire's advanced scouts spread through Earth's solar system. Fleet Commander Zexmore commanded the invasion force from his massive flagship. He was confident this would be an easy victory. Humans were young and weak. Their technology was primitive compared to Empire weapons. "Sir," his communications officer said, "we are detecting strange energy readings throughout the system." Zexmore barely looked up from his battle plans. "Sensor echoes from human satellites. Ignore them and focus on real threats." "But sir, these readings do not match human technology patterns. The energy signatures are completely different." "I said ignore them," Zexmore snapped. "Humans cannot threaten us with their toy ships." Back on Earth, the debate continued through the night. President Taman knew he had to make the most difficult decision in human history. They could fight and face certain death or surrender and hope the Empire would show mercy. During a break in the meeting, Admiral Bora approached him privately. "Sir, there is one more option. An old emergency protocol from the colonial expansion days. We could send distress signals on frequencies that have not been used for 2 centuries. You think scattered human ships could help us now?" "Probably not," Bora admitted. "But there are old stories about exploration fleets that vanished during the expansion. Entire groups of ships that disappeared without any wreckage or survivors found. If any of them somehow survived in deep space, you are talking about ghost stories and legends. Yes, sir. But we are facing the end of our species. Maybe it is time to try everything, even legends. President Taemin stared out the window at the night sky. Somewhere beyond those stars, an alien fleet waited to destroy everything humans had built. In 72 hours, it would all be over unless something impossible happened. Send the message, he said quietly. Use every frequency we have. Admiral Bo-Ra nodded and left to prepare the transmission. She did not really believe in ghost fleets or miracle rescues. But she had sworn to defend humanity with her life. If that meant calling out to legends and shadows, she would do it. The message went out across human space on old emergency frequencies. 3 simple words repeated over and over into the darkness. Humanity calls home. Captain Jeho received the message on his freighter and felt his blood turn cold. He had heard those exact words in his grandfather's stories about the Black Fleet. They were the ancient signal that meant humanity faced complete destruction. Somewhere in the void between stars, old sensors detected the call. In the depths of space where no human should be able to live, something began to stir. Ancient systems activated after centuries of silence. The countdown continued. 68 hours until the Empire's deadline. The message had been sent, but would anyone answer? And if they did, would they still be human after so many years in the dark?